Well, we've said for the last 7 days we think it's close. Now that we expect United to go in with an improved offer, the discussions continue. Look, he's got 2 years left on his deal. The feeling is that they're not too far away. Brentford want at least £65 million, with most of it, if not all, guaranteed. Now, we heard from Phil Giles on Monday when he said that Mbeumo would be happy to stay if the deal cannot be agreed, which I found very, very interesting, because if you flip it round, we know he's been linked with other clubs, Tottenham, for example, and we're told that Mbeumo only wants to join Manchester United, but it doesn't sound like they're too far off. What it says to me, though, listening to all these players Darmesh has mentioned, I'd say 4 out of that 5, how much of a say will that have on Ruben Amorim's incomings? Because it's not just the fees, it's the wages.
But also, the fact that they've all said they want to leave, I mean, is that good news for Manchester United in a way? Because we've heard through grapevines that they don't want them anyway, and they want them off the wage bill.
Yes, but what you said before is interesting, because if they've made it clear that they don't want to stay there, what's that going to do to their price? Because clubs will know that Manchester United do want to sell. And the later you go in the window without them being sold, I'm sure clubs might see that as an opportunity to try and get a lower price for them. Yeah,
I mean, also, will these players go on their pre-season tour? Because that's when they're away for 2 to 3 weeks abroad. I think United are in this summer series. So that intrigues me. Or will they stay behind, play in the under-21s, localised games? So, yeah, loads to work out in such a short space of time.
So what are the striker options then, Darmesh, for Manchester United?
Look, it should be
subject to them being some money available.
Yeah, but it should be said, Mbeumo, as Michael was mentioning there, he's the primary focus just now after they brought in Cunha, and then potential sales of those 5 players that we've spoken about, and maybe more as well. But they are still exploring a deal in the background for a striker. It's understood that Juventus actually mentioned the potential sale of Dusan Vlahovic, while Juventus and Manchester United were discussing a potential deal for Jadon Sancho. Let's be clear about this. Juventus are desperate to sell Vlahovic. He's into the final year of his contract now, and he is on absolutely massive wages. I spoke to Gianluca Di Marzio earlier on today, and he said that he's on €12 million net a year, which is good money if you can get it. And on the back of that, Juventus are still very interested in signing Victor Osimhen as well. You would think maybe everything is related here, Sancho and Conceição, and maybe trying to bring in Osimhen, would they have to try and get Dusan Vlahovic off the books as well? But look, Vlahovic is clearly a good player, and he's one of a number of strikers that Manchester United will have looked at. Another one that they keep an eye on his situation is Ollie Watkins at Aston Villa. I think the initial soundings around that deal suggested that there was quite a big gap in valuation between what Manchester United would have been prepared to pay for Ollie Watkins and what Aston Villa would have wanted. He's approaching 30 years old, and I think this may be one that could rumble on towards the end of the window as well, not just Manchester United, because there'll be a number of other clubs who'd be interested in a player who's an England international.
It's the same old, isn't it? The merry-go-round. One deal gets done and then things start to slot into place. But right now, everybody is playing fast and loose, or is that just cagey? Welcome along, transfer time. Darmesh and Michael are with me. Darms, let's start at Manchester United. Tell us about this exodus.
Yeah, this is quite big news, actually. All of these players that you can see behind us, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony, Tyrell Malacia, have all informed, we understand, Manchester United that they want to leave the club. Now, as a result, Manchester United have actually delayed their return date to pre-season. The rest of the squad are expected back on Monday, on Monday, July the 7th, to return to pre-season. But all 5 of these players have been granted a delay so that they can try and sort out a solution for their future. If their futures are not resolved in that period, then they will return to Carrington, to the Manchester United training ground. Not necessarily, it should be said, to reintegrate themselves into the first team squad, though we can't rule that out, but it is to use the facilities and use the medical facilities and any remote facilities that they have that all the squad would be able to enjoy anyway. But as it stands, those 5 players, Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Anthony, Malacia, have all made it clear to Manchester United of their wish and their desire to leave Old Trafford.
And The interesting one as well, you know when your futures might be not at the club you're at, is when your number is taken away. What we also found out this afternoon, Matheus Cunha will now have that number 10 shirt, the famous Manchester United number 10 shirt, which Marcus Rashford has had since 2018.